You just saw a fantastic putt, and now you're watching Middle School Moments. Let's go! Hey, what's going on? My name is Josh. Welcome back to Middle School Moments. Hey, I want to take just a few minutes today to talk about masks. I want to talk about it in a way that's not political. Okay, let me say this one more time, maybe for the people in the back. This is not a political thing! I'm not even talking about like actually wearing a mask, even though I do like mine. But look, this isn't about whether you do or do not wear a mask. I wear one, but if it works, great. And if it doesn't work, then I've just walked around covering my face from here to the parking lot. That's not a big deal for me. I'm talking about the mask that we wear in a metaphorical sense. When we feel like we're not good enough and we begin to be someone else, or we want something more than what we currently have, and then we wear a mask or a disguise maybe to appear worthy enough or good enough or cool enough or enough to have that thing, to be in that group, to do whatever. And like, we can wear a lot of different masks in a lot of different relationships, but that's really what it comes down to, is the relationships and trying to improve those. I will say this, sometimes we wear masks as a way to protect ourselves. Maybe you have a parent that is impossibly hard to please, or any relationship that's just, man, you just feel like it's really tough to get something from them. Love, affection, attention, any of those things. For example, I had a difficult relationship with my father. So what I would do was, instead of kind of sharing my feelings or being honest, I chose to wear a disguise or a mask where he would approve of me. It got me attention, affection, and love. It got me the three things that I wanted by wearing this mask. So by putting on this disguise, it became almost like a survival tactic. So look, sometimes we do this just to protect ourselves. What I wish I would have done would have kind of listened to my true self and just shared my feelings and shared my emotions and talked about what was going on, and just give him the freedom and the respect to accept that, or in some cases reject that. I wish I had done that, but you know what? I was a child and I didn't know that. So for your context, because you're in middle school, okay, you're no longer a child, you're about to become a teenager, and life is about to change, and for many of you it already has begun to change. But let's just consider your relationships. How many of those relationships would you say you are 100% authentic with the other person? So if the answer is not all of them, or 100%, or whatever, then what's different? Is there perhaps a boy or a girl that you have tried to impress that just being you wasn't getting it done? So maybe you began to wear a disguise, and you would dress a different way, or you would talk a different way, or act a different way, or pick up a new hobby that you didn't really care about, but because you knew that they were interested in. Sometimes that's just a compromise of getting to know people, as taking an interest in their interests. But if it becomes all about who you are, just because you want to impress someone else and you take no pleasure in it, that's a disguise. That's a mask. If we want like a biblical perspective on this, for this to all make sense, we just go back to one of the very first stories in the Bible. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Okay, that's how it starts. And then it gets all the way down to Adam and Eve, where God looked at all of his creation. There was a universe, there were stars in the sky, there was moon, there was water, there was land, there were trees, there were flowers, there were animals. And God looked around and thought, we need something else here. So he made a man from his own image. And he made a man and he said, it could be better. That's the first time in the Bible where God says, this isn't completely good. Okay, think about that. Heavens and earth, good. Sea and sky, good. Land, good. Animals, good. Man is all alone, not good. He gave him a partner. Now there were two. Adam and Eve, and God said, this is good. Serpent enters, aka sin comes into the world. A lie is told. Eve believes it. Adam believes it. They sin against God. And all of a sudden, they're naked. They hide. They become afraid. They put leaves together to cover themselves because they feel shame for who they are and what they've done. Up until that point, these two precious creations of God, for I have no idea how long, could have been a day, could have been 10 years. Who knows how long Adam and Eve were just running around, living literally their best life because they were in a relationship with God. They were taking walks with him in the afternoon. They were looking after the, Adam's over there naming all the animals. Tiger, perfect. Zebra, love it. Cat, okay. Platypus, funny word. They're living their best lives. All of a sudden, sin comes in. They go against God's will, so they become separated from God, and then they begin ultimately to feel fear and guilt and shame. That is not the best life. And they literally put on a disguise to hide their shame from God. See, ultimately, that's what this comes down to. When we pretend to be something that we're not, or when we even project a different side to ourselves. Now look, I am so guilty of this because in high school and in college, I made a bunch of friends that were living a lifestyle that I was not comfortable with, but I wanted them to approve of me. So I chose to wear a disguise so that people would think I was good enough to hang out with. That was a disguise to say, Josh, as a man, as a creation of God, as a 21, 22-year-old, not good enough for these people. So he needs to put on a disguise. That's fear and shame coming up. It's a lie. If we go back to the story of Adam and Eve, where did fear and guilt and shame and all that come from? A lie. Where the serpent told Eve, hey, God doesn't want you to eat this because he's afraid that if you eat this, you will become like him. God is afraid. See, God was already on the level with Adam and Eve because that's what he wanted. He wanted that relationship to know each other intimately and just be. Adam and Eve were a precious creation, and that is what you are. You're this precious creation that God wants to just spend time with and be in relationship with and take walks with and talk to and just be in the presence of, because that is what God created people to be. But a lie comes in between us, and we begin to separate and begin to believe things like fear and guilt and shame. And we put on a disguise or a mask and hope that we'll be accepted for something that we're not. If you're in middle school, there's a good chance you've already started to kind of pick up on some of this. And if you're not in that space yet, I hate to break it to you, but you might be pretty soon, because high school, a new season of life, or even 8th grade or whatever, there's a lot of new questions and a lot of new experiences. And I wish I could tell you that, well, you'll grow out of it, eventually it'll go away, but it just doesn't. And from my personal perspective, man, I wish somebody had just started telling me these secrets about life. And really, it's not a secret. I mean, it's in the Bible. Like, if you have a relationship with God, then you begin to eliminate sin. And sin, really, very simply, is anything that separates us from God. So if you work on your relationship with God, then you begin to eliminate sin, and then you begin to be in this relationship with him. And you won't ever, because we're humans, we won't ever completely get rid of sin and deceit and fear and guilt and shame. We won't ever get rid of that. But it becomes a lot easier when we believe the truth that God says about us, that we are loved, that we are known, that we are precious creations, that we matter to him. We matter so much that we see that in the story of Jesus. He came, he lived, he died, so that that relationship with God could be restored. The creation story is a beautiful story because it starts with God and man together. I think that's how God wants this story to end as well. But we got to get rid of some masks. We got to take off these disguises, and we have to live in this world with these people, with the truth that God gives us, that I matter, that you matter, that I am loved, that you are loved, I am known, and you are known. I hope we're people that know God, that love God, but then also seek to know and to love others just the same. Let's take off that disguise. and let's listen to the truth that God is giving us.
Make it turn.